to the OR. Today we're doing a high SMAS facelift. Check this out.
No, check this out. That was a Florida plastic surgeon before he was accused of murdering a lawyer. Minutes after, they were supposed to be on a call together, and the lawyer's body has never been found. I take you through the twists and turns in the death of Steven Cozzi and the wild decision the doctor charged in his murder has made.
All right, Mr. Kosowski, any progress on getting a lawyer?
No, sir.
Well, why not?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm still interviewing people, so.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Steven Cozzi went to work on March 21st of 2023, and he was never seen again. The case is eerie, and it's incredibly sad. Cozzi was an attorney working at a law firm. The firm was in Largo, Florida, south of Clearwater, and court documents say that Cozzi went to the restroom at his law office and never returned to his desk. That part is incredibly terrifying. One of Cozzi's coworkers called police after discovering his wallet and phone on his desk. An affidavit states, the victim was in the process of responding to an email and music was playing from his phone. The complainant discovered the victim missing and while searching for him, entered the public bathroom to the office building. While inside, he noted blood smeared on the bathroom door as well as blood on the stall wall and the bottom of the toilet. The victim's vehicle also remained in the parking lot. Largo police started an investigation immediately. This was strange to be sure, but the clues came together pretty quickly. The affidavit states, while reviewing surveillance, officers learned that a gray Toyota Tundra arrived at the office building at 8:32 hours. At 8:34 hours, an unidentified white male is seen entering the building wearing gloves, carrying a large box, and wearing a large backpack. Shortly after the victim arrives at the building at 8:37 hours, wearing a red sweater. At 10:22 hours, the subject who has a similar build to the first subject wearing the same backpack exits the building and appears to have changed clothes. He is seen pulling behind him a large cart that appears to be heavy and have a red bag or blanket. It should be noted that the subject struggled with the weight of the cart while transporting it to the Toyota Tundra. Now, one of the first clues that surfaced, Steven Cozzi missed a conference call that was supposed to take place with Dr. Tomasz Roman Kosowski. Police say it was a civil case where Steven Cozzi was representing the plaintiff, and Kosowski, a doctor, was representing himself as his own lawyer. It was contentious. An affidavit states, the victim missed a 10:30 telephonic court hearing that was supposed to be held with the defendant. The defendant attended the telephonic hearing from 10:28 to 11:04 hours. As soon as the defendant disconnects from the court hearing, video captures the subject at the crime scene beginning to move again. Specifically, at 11:05 hours, the subject is seen positioning the cart by the Tundra. The subject is later seen struggling to get the heavy cart into the bed of the truck on surveillance. The victim is never seen exiting the business on surveillance. Police say the subject in that video was Dr. Kosowski and that he killed Steven Cozzi in the bathroom of his law office building and then moved his body to his pickup truck outside. The affidavit states, on 3/25/2023, the defendant responded back to Pinellas County and was stopped by the Tarpon Springs Police Department. A search warrant was served on a Toyota Corolla. During the course of the search, a ballistic vest was found in the trunk of the vehicle with a substantial amount of blood located on it. Red fibers were also located on the ballistic vest as well as white fibers. A bag containing masks, a taser, brass knuckles, duct tape, and intravenous sedatives with syringes was found on the passenger floorboard of the vehicle.
The world can be a really scary and unpredictable place, and that's where our partner and sponsor Morgan & Morgan comes in. They're a law firm with more than 1,000 lawyers because they win a lot. In the last few months alone, Morgan & Morgan has secured a $9.3 million verdict for a car crash victim in Florida, a $5.6 million verdict for another car accident victim in Atlanta, not to mention a $1.8 million verdict in Kentucky. after the insurance company offered them a mere $5,000 in that case. Can you believe it? Even if you think your case is not worth millions, why not start a claim and fight for what you deserve? Morgan & Morgan makes it really easy. You can start a claim from your phone in just 8 clicks. So if you're ever hurt, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/crimefix or click the link in the description and pinned in the comments.
Police would later say they used cell phone tower data to track down Kosowski and that they found one of his fingerprints in the law office building. And there was more. The affidavit states, due to the large quantity of blood located at the crime scene, the defendant's home and vehicle, along with the fact that the subject removed a container large enough to conceal a human body, and the victim was never seen exiting the business on surveillance, it is believed that the victim is deceased and the defendant intentionally, by a premeditated design, caused his death. So where is Steven Cozzi's body? Detectives would later say they believe Kosowski drove to the Everglades Conservation and Sportsman Club near the Everglades and dumped Cozzi's body in a dumpster there. Detectives said they spoke to the garbage truck driver, who said that dumpster was heavier than usual when he picked up the trash on March 23rd, and what usually smelled like camp trash smelled vile. Detectives said video surveillance showed the dumpster being emptied and something long, wrapped in trash bags, coming out of it, and it didn't look like normal trash. Tomasz Kosowski was charged with first-degree murder, and prosecutors decided to pursue the death penalty against him. But to this day, Steven Cozzi's body has not been found. So Kosowski has been in jail awaiting trial for more than 2 years. He appeared in court in February as his attorneys prepared for trial.
The interesting thing about Ms. Heinrich's testimony is she, in fact, did not outcry that she could identify Dr. Kosowski until she was here for the Arthur hearing. She actually stood in this vestibule looking through the glass, and she told me in a very colorful way that she had identified Dr. Kosowski as the person that was in the closet the week before that she chased out of the building. I immediately disclosed that to Mr. Brunvaughn using a direct quote from Ms. Heinrich in the colorful language. I said, here's the disclosure. She said she can identify your client. That's the first time it came up. That was July, I believe, of 2023 when we had the Arthur hearing.
So that was the prosecutor talking about a witness that they have who will testify. Kosowski's trial was supposed to begin in May of this year, and then guess what? His attorneys withdrew. They said they learned from jail calls that Kosowski planned to not pay them and then sue them. So he started representing himself at a hearing in the spring.
Okay. You understand that you have the right to a lawyer. If you cannot afford to hire your own lawyer, then I will appoint one to represent you. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And the state of Florida will pay for your lawyer if you cannot afford to hire one. You understand that?
Yes.
All right, here are some of the advantages of having a lawyer to represent you, and you just want to represent yourself for what motions? The motion for continuance and what else?
The motion for a rehearing of the motion to suppress and the motion to continue.
Lawyers' legal knowledge and experience may favorably affect your result in regard to your motion for continuance and your motion for rehearing. Since they are lawyers, they have gone to law school, they have experience with dealing with legal issues, and you may be limited in that regard. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As it is almost always unwise to represent yourself in court, let me tell you a few of the disadvantages of representing yourself in court. You understand that you will not get any special treatment from the court just because you are representing yourself.
Yes, sir.
You understand that you will not be entitled to a continuance simply because you wish to represent yourself.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're ready to go on those motions today, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And if you are in custody, obviously it's more difficult to do legal research, but you're ready to go now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then last month, Kosowski was back in court, and the judge wanted an update.
All right, Mr. Kosowski, any progress on getting a lawyer?
No, sir.
Well, why not?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm still interviewing people, so.
Okay. So, have you interviewed them in person? Have they been on video? Have you been calling them?
I've interviewed them in person.
Okay. So there are people who want to take your case, but you're still deciding who you want?
Yes.
That's the story? All right. All right, are we going to have that figured out this week?
I don't think so.
Well, why not? What are you doing? An investigation of these people?
Well, I think it's pretty important that I get the right lawyer, don't you?
All right. All right, so when are you going to have a lawyer?
I don't know.
So this was back on May 14th, and the judge is basically saying, what have you been doing? Because at this point, Kosowski's trial is days away from starting. Take a look.
Well, since the trial's Monday, don't you think it's a good idea to get one sooner rather than later?
Sure.
Okay. So why don't you think you can do that this week?
Because I haven't found the right lawyer.
How many lawyers have you interviewed?
2.
Okay. And they seem okay to you?
They seem
You just
okay.
have to pick the better one?
No, sir.
Oh. You didn't like either one of them?
I did not.
Okay. All right, well, what says the state? State, you would just go ahead and have a trial on Monday, or?
Well, Your Honor, yes, I mean, that's my proposal, is to have a trial on Monday, but here's the problem. There's some issues with that. First issue is Mr. Kosowski, I'm sorry, Dr. Kosowski. When he was here on Friday, he said he was prepared to represent himself solely for the purposes of those motions. 2 motions being the motion for rehearing and the motion for continuance. I think more broadly, whether he wanted to represent himself for trial, I think that was an open question. In fact, I think he decidedly said that he did not want to represent himself for trial. So before we were to proceed to trial on Monday, which is going to be, I anticipate, having had a preview of a lot of the questions that I believe Dr. Kosowski will ask, because they were already asked in the depositions, that we're probably looking at a minimum 6-week trial to resolve this case. And jury selection, I am unable to predict how long that will take, because I don't know how Dr. Kosowski would approach voir dire. So I think the first inquiry we have before anything else is whether Dr. Kosowski wants to represent himself for trial.
The prosecutor goes on to say that they've checked and Dr. Kosowski has had the discovery in the case and used a laptop at the jail for more than 200 hours to review it. It almost sounds like the prosecutor wants Kosowski to represent himself.
So I think he's been pretty active in this litigation from the beginning. I think there's probably homicide cases in this very building that have been tried where the defense team has not invested 229.5 hours in reviewing it. There are homicide cases in this building where the prosecution may not have invested 229.5 hours in reviewing the discovery in this particular case. So it's my belief that Dr. Kosowski, and I spent a lot of time going through the civil record where he represented himself. And Dr. Kosowski is a very smart man. He has an MBA and a medical degree from Dartmouth. His writing reflects that. It's very articulate. It's better than some lawyers that I've litigated against. So I think if we have our first threshold inquiry of whether Dr. Kosowski is ready for trial on Monday, we probably have to do that for an inquiry to whether he wants to represent himself.
So right there, the prosecutor points to an instance in a civil case where Kosowski represented himself. The prosecutor then went into some details about the case.
I will say this, Ms. Spadaro and I have been ready to try this case since that morning in April of 2023 when we received Dr. Kosowski's phone records. And I charted them on a Google map. And the cell tower that he was at for 30 minutes for a court hearing while Steven Cozzi's body was in a wagon was right next door to the Blanchard Law Group for 32 minutes, banging off the cell tower. We were ready to try it that day, but then we had some more things come in since that day. We had cell phone records, and then we had DNA. And the DNA is damning for Dr. Kosowski. It's in his truck, in his Toyota Tundra. It's in his house. It's in his Corolla. We were ready to try it that day. That just happened to be the grand jury. We were also ready to try this case in July of 2023 when Dr. Kosowski asked for bond before this court. And we filed a pretrial detention motion laying out literally the entire case. Affidavits sworn to by the 2 lead detectives in this case, laying out the evidence against Dr. Kosowski and the testimony.
Do you want to represent yourself for trial, or are you going to hire a lawyer for that?
No, sir, I do not want to represent myself for the trial.
Or do you want to represent yourself for your motion to continue, or I guess it was Mr. Runbon's motion to continue?
No, I'll represent myself for that.
All right, so what do you want to say in regard to that motion?
Well, discovery's not complete, depositions aren't complete, pending motions aren't complete, and I'm not sure whether forensic testing is complete. So there are lots of things that aren't done in this case, and no matter what Mr. Vonderheide tells you. So.
All right, well, there are a whole lot of things that haven't done. There's a whole lot more things that haven't done than things that haven't been done. So we're really close to getting ready on this thing. And the main reason that we're not ready is that you don't have a lawyer. But you're going to get one soon because you don't have a choice.
Then Judge Ballone gently laid down the law.
Or I can set a pretrial here for a couple of weeks. You're going to have a lawyer here within 2 weeks, right?
I don't know, sir.
Well, work on it, okay? If you already have 2 lawyers that you've interviewed, that's pretty good, right? So I can reset the pretrial here for May 28th. That's 2 weeks. That's plenty of time, all right? And obviously, I'm giving you plenty of time to retain the lawyer, but we're not going to go on forever with this. Because we're not going to have the case just going absolutely nowhere. We have to move things along, and we're almost done. We're almost at the finish line because almost everything's been done. There's just a few things here and there that need to be done, and you need a lawyer. So your lawyer has to go over everything. You have to find a date when the state's ready and your lawyer's ready. So make a good faith effort to retain a lawyer, all right? And then if you're not making a good faith effort, I'll just appoint one for you.
So guess what happened? On May 28th, the judge appointed a public defender to represent Tomasz Kosowski, but now the public defender's office has filed a motion to withdraw, saying they've determined there's a conflict involving a witness in the case. So they're back to square one. So I want to bring in Philip Dubé. He works as court-appointed counsel in California. He has been representing people for years and years. He's also a great legal analyst. Philip, Dr. Kosowski is somebody whose case could have landed right in your lap. So first off, your thoughts on this case. He's accused of doing something really calculated and horrible, going into a law office, probably using a stun gun and some drugs to maybe like kidnap somebody and put them in a container, kill them, and then taking their body to the Everglades and dumping it in a dumpster.
Yeah, the problem for the good doctor is they don't even need a statement from him. The forensics speak loud and clear. They have, first of all, they have him making a call to the victim, Mr. Cozzi. And he's apparently right out front where the law practice is, where Mr. Cozzi's office is. And it looks like it's a lying in wait type situation where they're having a conference call, presumably with all the regalia in his car, such as the syringe, the cleanup materials, a dump bag, whatever else he needed to get the job done. And then what do they find? They find the good lawyer's DNA in the men's room of the office. But worse yet, they have the good doctor on video with some type of rotating device to block and unblock his license plate. And then they have the attorney's DNA, and I believe it's serological evidence, in the doctor's garage. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a one and done it. The only issue is whether or not he dies. And unfortunately, they are seeking death. They are proceeding under a theory that this was planned and premeditated, that it was for financial gain, that it was heinous and atrocious. And truthfully, I don't know why they don't add that he was lying in wait, because lying in wait for that ambush is also grounds to seek death. The only thing he has going for him, if there is any hope at all, not to walk, but to have a different housing environment, to go from death row maybe to maximum security, is that there was a change in the law in Florida that I believe is unconstitutional.
The 8-4.
Yes.
They only need 8 jurors now to say that the person should be sentenced to death, and that was in response to the Parkland school shooting. Correct.
Terrible. And the U.S. Supreme Court has already held on this. I think it was back in 2016. It was called Hurst, H-U-R-S-T, I think out of Florida, ironically, where, first of all, you're entitled to a jury to decide all the facts, such as the aggravators, unanimously, not just a judge. So the fact that they've already made that pronouncement that it must be unanimous tells me that if anybody is sentenced to death, where at the penalty phase, fewer than 12 jurors came back with that recommendation, I predict they're all coming back on appeal because I think it's unconstitutional. It violates all kinds of rights. Number one, it's cruel and unusual. All right. Number two, it also violates your right to have a jury trial on the issue. Essentially, what Florida is saying is that you have 4 voiceless jurors. And Angenette, in California, you only need 9 jurors to reach a civil verdict. And it's so unpalatable to hear that the state of Florida only requires 8 people, it's less than a civil standard, to execute someone. Now, I realize it's a different conversation. We're going far afield from whether or not this man should be convicted. But when you look at the stakes and the outcome, there is a lot to be said for him on his behalf, at least in terms of penalty. But my only 2 words for him as far as guilt are get comfortable, because you are never, ever getting out.
Now there have been some hiccups in the case, though. Whether he's ultimately convicted or there's a death sentence or what have you, he doesn't even have a lawyer right now. Philip, he was caught on jail calls, I guess, according to his former lawyer, saying, we're going to fire him and sue him and get, not pay him and all of this crazy stuff, according to the lawyer. Then he goes back and forth this whole thing with the judge, yeah, I'm still interviewing people. Well, finally, the judge appoints counsel for him, the public defender. And now the public defender's well, we're out. We have a conflict. We're not going to say who the witness is, but we have a conflict. So now this trial is going to be on hold for a while because now a new lawyer will be appointed and has to get up to speed.
Well, there's no rush. Look, the man's not going anywhere. No harm, no foul in aging the case a little bit. And if we're really honest, this is more of a cop case. Even though you have a civilian victim, this is all about how law enforcement worked it up. The cops will always be there to testify and get a conviction. But I will tell you that for me, the message to the private bar out there of attorneys is get your money up front. Because if you make some type of an arrangement where your client is going to pay you on the installment plan and they stop paying, you're going to end up working for free. And you have to withdraw. And if a judge won't let you withdraw because it could prejudice the rights of your client, you could end up stuck having to defend somebody gratuitously. You've got to get it up front. So what probably happened here is he got tapped out. He ran out of money. And maybe he cajoled the next attorney to take the case. And of course, when that didn't bear fruit, that lawyer substituted out. And then if you are legally indigent, yes, you get the public defender. But we are bound by ethical rules, meaning that we cannot represent anybody where there is a legal conflict of interest. You cannot have concurrent representation of a defendant and a named witness in the same case. It's disloyal to both of them. So you have to get off both of them. Well, not to fear, because all states, including Florida, have what's called the conflict panel or alternate counsel panel, where they have lawyers standing by ready to take these cases when a conflict is declared. And the benefit of that is they're not paid by the client. So they don't have to worry about ever getting paid. They don't have to worry about clients threatening to fire you, do all that stuff, because in the end, the attorney is still the captain of the ship. The only real decisions that are to be made by a defendant in a criminal case are A, will he testify? B, does he want a jury or a judge? And C, at least in Florida, do you want lethal injection or electrocution? Those are the only 3 choices he gets to make.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. The next step is getting him another lawyer. They'll appoint what you just said, the counsel who's on the panel, and then that person's going to have to get up to speed. But man, it's a really sad, horrific case, and I feel bad for Steven Cozzi's family. We'll keep an eye on it because he's going to be in court. There's another hearing this month, where the judge is going to give him another lawyer. Philip Dubé, thank you so much as always.
Have a good one.
When the trial finally starts, the state says it plans to call 56 witnesses. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.